can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, and I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, can you feel it coming in the air tonight? Oh Lord, oh Lord. Well, if you told me you were drowning, I would not lend a hand. I've seen your face before, my friend, but I don't know if you know who I am. Well, I was there and I saw what you did. I saw it with my own two eyes. So you couldn't wipe off that grin. I know where you've been. It's all been a pack of lies. And I can feel it.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, Lieutenant Colonel and Colonel Wood and Mr. Norton, were you pulling your hair out?
I mean, will you just flatly ask me that? Like, what can we do? What can we say? What can we put in writing? What can we say on the phone? What else can we do? Was that your sense and attitude when you got the answers from Washington?
We were fighting a losing battle. We couldn't even keep what we had. We were not even allowed to keep it. If I could add to that, it was
After the 9/11 terrorist attack in Benghazi, UN Ambassador Susan Rice told Fox News it was a spontaneous attack that was not pre-planned but got out of control. That contradicted the president of Libya's claim that it was, in fact, a premeditated strike. Later, the White House said the attack was, in fact, a terror attack. And seeking the truth, the FBI in Washington, not commenting on the status of the investigation, but they're on the ground, Bureau agents on the ground in Libya, and the Libyan government also conducting its own investigation as well to get to the bottom of it and get the truth.
and Andrew Sim.
But I know the reason why you keep your silence up. No, you don't believe. The hurt doesn't show, but the pain still grows. Some stranger to you and me. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, I can feel it in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh Lord, oh Lord, I can feel it in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord, but I've been waiting for this moment all my life.
I told the same regional director in a telephone call in Benghazi after he contacted me when I asked for 12 agents. His response to that was, you're asking for the sun, moon, and the stars. And my response to him, his name's Jim, I said, Jim, you know what makes most frustrating about this assignment? It's not the hardships, it's not the gunfire, it's not the threats. It's dealing and fighting against the people programs, and personnel who are supposed to be supporting me. And I added it by saying, for me, the Taliban is on the inside of the building.
Greetings from Anonymous. The United States government is seeking to end the Constitution. This will endanger the American people, and we will not stand by and watch while this government of deception prepares to rip away from us all of the freedoms that our forefathers granted us. The freedoms that were fought for, bled for, that our ancestors died for. We must ensure that blood was not shed in vain, that their lives were indeed lost for a great nation that is not yet lost. We refuse to let the United States government destroy our way of life. The United States government insists on labeling us as terrorists. The question is, who do we terrorize? Is it probable that the United States government is truly afraid of we, the people? Nevertheless, the time for action is now. It is time to remind the government that we, the American people, are the ones who hold the power of this country, not them. The American people have realized that the current government is no longer functional. Our economy is unstable, our representatives uncooperative, and our system destroyed. We are not calling upon the collective to deface or use a distributed denial-of-service attack on a United States government agency, website, or affiliate. We are not calling upon the people to once again occupy a city or protest in front of a local building. This has not brought on us any legislative change or alternate law. It has only brought us bloodshed and false criticism. For the last 12 years, voting has been useless. Corporations and lobbyists are the true leaders of this country and are the ones with the power to control our lives. To rebuild our government, we must it. Our time for democracy is here. Our time for resolution is here. This is America's time for revolution. To restore our constitutional rights. To once again be free. Therefore, Anonymous along with the American people have decided to open. This is a call to arms. We call upon the citizens of the United States to stand beside us in overthrowing this corrupted body and call upon a new era. We refuse to be a police state. We refuse to be brutalized and dehumanized by the very people our tax dollars fund to protect our cities and streets. We will not allow the government to control our destiny, our right to build a life for ourselves. We demand freedom from government control, taxation, repossession and death. You will not come to our doors and take our guns, our property. You will not force the citizens of this great country to participate in the unlawful act of government-mandated health care. We the people refuse to put in your control our health, our bodies, our minds, our lives. We will not grant permission for the government to deploy drones over our homes and communities. We must end the Federal Reserve. A private central bank should not issue our currency, set interest rates and run our economy. Rather, we need to return control over the currency to the American people where it belongs. You, the United States government, have overstepped your privileges for the last time. Our peaceful actions, patience and restraint have been demonstrated as we watched and waited for our Congress and representatives to speak for the American citizens and protect us from the tyrant that sits in the Oval Office and happily strips the American people of our rights, one by one. executive order by executive order. We have waited long enough. The Declaration of Independence establishes the supremacy of the people and the right and duty to defend the rights of the people over the acts of the government. Our Constitution provides for as many protections as possible to ensure that the government is subservient to the people and only exists for the purpose of serving the people. However, should these protections fail, it is up to the people to rise up against the government and to put the government back in its place. In this capacity, the people act as the fourth branch of government to take control and to override their decisions that violate the fundamental rights of the people to life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. By what means do the people exercise their authority over the government? That depends on how resistant the government is to complying with the will of the people. In the case of the Declaration of Independence, it meant declaring war on the government and overthrowing them. This is obviously a last resort after taking other steps less harsh. Have we not tried? It is clearly the right and the duty of the American people to overthrow the government in order to restore the United States as a government to serve the people. This is clearly established in historical precedent. This is that time. We have exhausted every other option. Our government has ignored us. We must take action to ensure our freedoms. When the government violates the Constitution, it is the duty of the people to rise up against the government to bring them back into compliance with the Constitution. Our allegiance is not to the government. Our allegiance is to the American people, because they are us, and we are them. We the people have both the power and the responsibility to maintain our government in a manner that best serves the people in the pursuit of life, liberty, freedom, and the citizens of America. You are not alone. There are millions beside you. You will know when it's time. When the government attacks your words, we fight with voice. When the government attacks your guns, we fight with our weapons. To the
Imagine you're an American arrested by the United States military, not by civilian law enforcement, on U.S. soil. And imagine the military had the right to hold you forever. America is one step closer to that reality because the Senate last night voted 99-7 on a bill to authorize money for the Defense Department with provisions just like that in it. Here with insights is Oath Keeper and constitutional defender, former Sheriff Richard Mack. Sheriff, it's a pleasure. Welcome here.
Thanks, Judge. It's good to be with you. I'm
Sheriff,
sorry we're talking about such a horrible thing.
What is becoming to the United States of America when on the floor of the United States Senate, senators can actually debate and vote on whether or not the President of the United States ought to be able to divert Americans away from the criminal justice system and thus away from their constitutional rights, ship them to a jail in Cuba, and hold them without bringing them before a judge or charging them with a crime?
Well, it looks like they're starting to promulgate Patriot Act 2, but I think this is even worse than the Patriot Act. I think James Madison called it correctly when he warned us that the greatest threat to our freedom would be our own government. And he also had the solution. And the states must now erect barriers against what the federal government is doing, Judge. We have no other solution. It's obvious to every citizen in this country who's listening. I hope every American is watching your show today, and especially every sheriff and local official and governor, that realize now that we cannot depend on our politicians in Washington, D.C. and our leaders in Washington, D.C. to do a simple thing, and that is keep their oath and follow and defend the United States Constitution.
All right, Sheriff,
they have now become enemies of the Constitution.
You have founded and promoted an organization called Oath Keepers. And just for viewers who may not be familiar with this, these are law enforcement officers who have taken an oath always to uphold the Constitution, even if a superior officer orders them to violate the Constitution. Question: will the United States military obey the government's orders and arrest American citizens and ship them to Guantanamo Bay, or will they uphold their oath to uphold the Constitution and defy the president? Remember, they did arrest people in the streets of Katrina. They didn't ship them to Guantanamo Bay, but they arrested them without charge and without warrant.
Yes, and they also had door-to-door gun confiscation during Katrina. And I'm actually on the board of directors, Oath Keepers. The organization I founded was countysheriffproject.org. But it's the same premise. Will we have sheriffs and local officials, law enforcement officers in this country that will actually, when they swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, do that against our own enemies in Washington, D.C.? And Judge, I'm sorry I have to call a spade here, but this is exactly what our own government's being. We only had 7 senators. That means Republicans and Democrats alike joined this abomination known as SB 1867, which allows the military to come in and violate the posse comitatus and arrest American citizens without charges, without trial, just put them in Guantanamo or wherever. And we've already had similar stuff coming from this administration when they killed Alawaki because they didn't like how he talked. So they said, well, you're not a citizen anymore, so we can go and kill you now with our drone attackers.
That's the danger.
Yeah, exactly, it is the danger.
Right. Sheriff, when the president when the president can unilaterally decide you're no longer a citizen and the laws that protect you don't restrain me, then we really have problems and maybe do have to look to the states for protection. Sheriff, you got a lot of work ahead of you. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you. American Airlines filed for Chapter 11.
We are anonymous. We are Americans. We never forgive. We never forget. We will fight for our rights. To the United States government, it's too late to expect us. Operation American Freedom engaged.
Henson Ange, followed by Justin Holstrom, Jason Tetlow, Thomas Philippides, number 659. Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah. My name is Henson Ong. Forgive me, English is not my first language. I am a legal immigrant, and I am an American by choice. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my opinion and give my testimony in opposition to the majority of the proposed bills which do nothing to deter future crimes. Gun control does not work. Your own history is replete with high school rifle teams, Boy Scout, marksmanship merit badges. You could buy rifles at the hardware stores. You could order them, mail order, delivered to your home. Your country was awash in readily available firearms and ammunition. And yet, in your past, you did not have mass school shootings. Other people have already expressed the question, what changed? It was not that the availability of guns suddenly exploded or increased. It actually was decreased. What was changed was societal decay. If gun control actually did work, Washington, D.C. and Chicago would be the safest cities in your nation, but it is not. They have the toughest gun laws and the highest crime and murder rates. Now, some people have asked and called the AR-15. They called the AR-15 a weapon of mass killing. Well, it turns out that there are a few government agencies which disagree with that characterization. The Department of Homeland Security has stated that a rifle chambered in 5.56 NATO with a 30-round magazine is suitable for personal defensive use. I have documentation on that. It is HSCEMS-1212-00011, solicitation for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Now, who needs an AR-15 with 30-round mags? That question has also been brought up. And I would like to put forward that had the Koreans in the LA riots not had AR-15s and AK-47s with 30-round magazines and Ruger 30s, their businesses would have been burned to the ground like all of the other businesses in their neighborhoods. Theirs stood because they stood their ground. I would also put forward the conjecture that had the 10,000 students at Tiananmen Square not been unarmed, things may not have resulted in so many of them disappearing. In your own laws, United States versus Miller, 309, U.S. 174, 1939, it was made clear that the type of firearms protected by the Second Amendment were those specifically useful and common for military use in defense of the state. I would like to note that the state is not the government. The state is the people. In Lewis,
excuse me, Mr. Arms, if you would.
In Lewis versus United States, 1980, it is stated that the Second Amendment guarantees no right to keep and bear a firearm that does not have some reasonable relationship to the preservation and efficiency of a well-regulated militia. It has nothing to do with hunting. The militia, as per the debates in the convention, shows plainly enough that it is composed of all males physically capable of acting in concert for common defense. And further, that ordinarily, when called for service, these men were expected to appear bearing arms supplied by themselves and of a kind in common use at the time. The AR-15 is the most common and popular rifle in America at this time.
Would you please wrap up?
I will wrap up. I would like to wrap up with a statement from Judge Andrew Koznitsky in Silveria vs. Lockyer, 2003. My excellent colleagues have forgotten these bitter lessons of history. The prospect of tyranny may not grab the headlines the way vivid stories of gun crime usually do, but few saw the Third Reich coming until it was too late. The Second Amendment is a doomsday provision, one designed only for those exceptionally rare circumstances when all other rights have failed. A free people can only afford to make this mistake once.
Thank you.
UnleashIndependence.com.
These Special Operations veterans have a message about how you can protect America and restore its greatness.
Time to stop the leaks coming from the White House. Leaks that endanger our forces overseas.
Not only leaks, but spiking your football as if killing was a sport.
Playing golf, not being commander-in-chief. Swayed by a political crony to delay. Afraid to make the decision to take out bin Laden. Another 9/11 that could have been prevented.
Lies and deceit about Benghazi. No security for our ambassador in Libya. No plan to rescue him and the other Americans. A total lack of leadership.
Blame the attack on a video, a spontaneous demonstration. Lied to the American public and the world in a UN speech.
A mob that just happened to show up with RPGs and mortars. A 7-hour attack.
Leaking classified information to help Hollywood make movies about killing bin Laden.
So the president takes credit to get reelected.
The modified ground rules of engagement that keep killing our soldiers in Afghanistan after the bin Laden raid.
From fast and furious guns to Mexican cartels and failing to secure our border.
To terrorism in Libya and failure to secure our diplomatic missions.
Going to bed and going to Vegas during the Benghazi crisis.
The defense budget cuts, the attempt to keep our troops from voting.
The leaks, the lies.
The Benghazi cover-up.
America, don't you think it's time for a change in leadership? To restore
a sound foreign policy, to have a strong national defense, to have a strong and vibrant economy, and to save America.
We do.
Preserve our honor. Remember the sacrifice.